Well, today is the Burning Bowl service. And when I first got into Unity, it was almost one of my very first services. And I had no idea what we were going to burn at that point in time. And it was a little scary, but I thought, well, it sounded intriguing, and I decided to go. So what I found in over the course of 35, almost 40 years of being in Unity, that this is probably one of our most powerful, insightful services, ritual services that we have. So before we get started, I'm going to reaffirm what Alice said. You need to have a small piece of paper to burn, and we'll talk about the size of the paper in a minute. And then you need to have a letter-sized piece of paper to write your letter to God. So if you have those things with you, you can just set everything aside. The Burning Bowl service is a year-end ritual. It's our opportunity to stand, look back, bless it, at the very same moment to look forward to and open our heart to the gift and being receptive to what the year what the year unfolds. It's a ritual where we literally physically burn something. And like I say, this little tiny slip of paper, and we burn it into the fire. And there's something about what I believe a few very well-planned, significant rituals, I think, have a lot of power in our lives. And this is one of those services. There's something about standing there and watching that piece of paper literally burn, literally transform from this white little piece of paper to a flame, and now just simply ash that can't be read or discerned what it might have been. And as we do so, that literal destruction of that piece of paper also invites us into kind of a freeing moment. Whatever we had on that paper is gone. No one can ever read it. We can't take it back. It's like some sort of mystery dossier from the government, and that we burn it and no one can ever read it again, as opposed to your email history queue. So it helps us to relieve the heartache and the pain. It helps us to let go. And it also, in a strange and almost interesting way, helps us find a new level of peace. Now, for years, I've always talked about the rite of the phoenix. And this is a mythical bird, think eagle in your head, that the mythical phoenix rises out of the ashes. Well, this year I decided to kind of look it up and refresh myself on what I remembered, what I didn't remember about that myth. And I found something that I don't know that I really got before. Here's the phoenix, comes to a branch, and generally the phoenix is shown like an eagle. It's a big bird. So it builds this massive nest, lays eggs, the chicks go off, the nest is empty. The bird now is needing to transform. What the bird does or must do in order to transform is it has to dismantle the nest, one rock, one leaf, one tree, one fig at a time. And this is what's the most interesting thing. Inherent within the sticks and the stones that had made up the nest is all the information, call it coding, if you will, to build a new nest. All the suffering the eagle went through to find the pieces, all of the hardships it faced, the wind and the sun and the heat and the snow, and all of it is embedded within the sticks and stones. So as the bird takes that nest and begins to tear it apart, it's populating the world with this information: how to build a new nest, how to be a good mother, how to fledge your chicks, how to let go. And then The second part of this myth is that it becomes a fire, and out of that fire the phoenix rises. And this is what I got so powerfully that I really not gotten before. All of the things that the eagle went through are released for the new eagle. So for you and for me, everything I went through in 2022, when I release it and burn it, becomes the courage, the strength, the wisdom, the insight that will carry me into 2023. I never really understood or appreciated that mystical moment where the fire then infuses the phoenix with all this new information that it had gleaned through the course of its process of the year before. You know, people often say, well, what should I burn? I mean, after all, this is a very small piece of paper. And after being a minister for 30 something years, and I'm sitting up front, and I would watch people come into the church and they get their paper and they'd immediately sit down and start writing, and they'd say, Marianne, we need a bigger piece of paper because I got a book of people I got to burn and I've got all this stuff I've got to burn. And I'm thinking, oh, Lordy, no. We can only truly release what we're willing to let go. Now, sisters, I'm going to ask you a personal question. Do you have an outfit in your closet that you aren't letting go of? That cute little black dress that no longer fits. You paid a lot of money for, and you looked really good 40 years ago in it. But, it's really hard to give it away. If it's hard to give away a piece of clothing, how much harder is it to give away a belief, a thought, a feeling that we hold so deeply within us? So although this paper may be small, the reality is there's not a lot that you truly are willing to let go of, that you're truly willing to put into the fire to be transformed. Let me give you another couple suggestions. When we say, what are you willing to let go of? Here's one that I just absolutely ignore, but is important. When I look at this paper and I think I'm going to write down such and such, I say to myself, am I willing to never talk about them again? Ever. My neighbor, my boss, my kids, my spouse. Am I truly willing to never be derogatory to them or energetically connected to them, whatever word you want to use there? Now, it's not to say you don't be pleasant. If I see my neighbor, I say, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? I saw the kids yesterday. But then I don't go home and go, I tell you what, that woman drives me nuts. I just can't stand it that she lives next door. Nope. I didn't let it go, did I? I'm energetically still connected. What am I really willing to let go? There's a wonderful story in the Bible. I love this story. It's found in John chapter 5. Jesus is in Jerusalem, and he and the disciples are walking around, and they come to the pool of Bethesda, and they're huge. They're massive. It's not just like a swimming pool. It's big. And there's a guy there, and you can just kind of picture this scenario. Jesus and the disciples hear this laughter and applause, and they walk around and they see this guy laying on his mat, and he's telling stories. He's been there by that pool for 30 years, and I mean, he's seen miracles. He's witnessed an angel. He's seen the water move, and he just went on and on and on, and people they just thought he was the best storyteller, and they applauded, and they gave him money. So Jesus just kind of stands there. He waits till the guy leaves and kind of has a breath. Jesus says to him, are you willing to be healed? And no more. Now, what does the guy do? The guy does not answer him directly. The guy sounds like a really bad country western song. Well, Jesus, you just don't know how bad it is. My kids, and my grandma's tied to a railroad track in a big Harley truck. Do 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 do. On and on and on he goes. Right? Jesus, patient, doesn't say a word. He's like, Finally, the guy gets quiet, and he says, "Get up." Get up. Can you imagine that guy looking around like, that's a double dog dare. That's a triple dog dare. He wants me to get up, to let go of my story, to let go of my place by the pool. I am known here. People come to hear me tell stories about the pool, about the angel. What do you mean get up and leave all of that? Sometimes, folks, we have to be willing to be willing. And sometimes we have to be willing to be willing to be willing. It's not easy to let go of those stories that we've attached so much power and energy to that we can't move beyond them. And unity teaches us that life is lived from within out, not from without in. So when you take this little piece of paper and you write down the neighbors, the boss, the kids, the flu, the politics, the religion, the, whatever, this, that, and the other thing, it's all about external stuff. The real letting go is internal. Does anybody need a new piece of paper? You need to start over again? The real stuff is going on within you. The forgiveness work of yourself. You see, because whatever's going on within us then manifests. That's what we teach, is manifesting in the world around us. So whatever we're angry and upset about outside of ourselves is really something that's going on inside of ourselves. Are we really willing to forgive our shortcomings and mistakes? Oh, that's a tough one for me. Really tough. The other day, I accidentally sent a payment to the wrong place. Now, because it's the holiday weekend, I'm not going to be able to fix it till at least Wednesday. But I went to bed that night it was an accident. Things happen. Can I forgive myself for my shortcomings and my mistakes? That's hard. How about this one? Have you forgiven your body for getting older? I have to do that one every year because I don't know about you, but I got up this morning and I have 3 more aches and pains than I had yesterday. I'm sure of it. How about taking life for granted, being too self-absorbed, just whiling away the time and letting life go by? Critical and judgmental. There's another one. There's another one. But here's one we forget sometimes too. What about the good times? Bruce Springsteen said, it's the glory days. They're passing you by, and all you end up with is old, boring stories to tell of what it used to be like. This past year, I serendipitously found an email to a friend I hadn't seen for 20 years. And I thought, well, I'm going to take a chance. I wrote her. Sure enough, about 3 hours later, I get an email. Oh my God, Marianne, it's so good to talk to you. Let's have a conversation on the phone. And it was wonderful. And I just think that was one of the really high points of my year. That was really a special event. But if I can't let that go, you see, because that was 2022, then how can I have even more of those serendipitous events, those good times, those good things come to me when the only life I have is back there when it was good, whatever good, however you define that. So not only do we struggle with letting go and forgiving ourselves and our shortcomings and our judgments and our criticism, we also have to be willing to let go of the high points, of the great moments that we had this year, so that we can say, you know what, God, I'm open and receptive. Who knows who I'll meet this year? Who knows what opportunities await this year? I can't know that as I'm standing January 1, 2023. It's like a big blank book. 2022 is filled. I closed it last night at 11:59. It's done. But now I stand on this pristine, I love that image of pristine snow. Nobody's put a footprint in it yet. And I'm getting to step gently into the new, not encumbered by the past. So that's going to be our first process. And in a minute, I'm going to lead you in a meditation so that you can come into that quiet space, open your heart to write on your burning slip. Now, because we're both in person and on Zoom, what's going to happen is I'm going to ask you to just set that burning slip aside. And those of you who are there in person at the end of the service are going to go out onto the patio and literally physically burn it. Those of us who are on Zoom, I really encourage you to literally physically burn this paper, not just tear it up, burn it so you can actually have that sense of all the information that's on this paper is going to be transformed into your new strength, into your new power, into your new empowerment, courage, passion, love, zeal, whatever it might be, and to have that very visceral sense. The second part of our service, after we finish our meditation, our little paper, we'll have our offering, and then I will come back on and we will write our letter to God. Now, I'm understanding this is something that you have not done before. And it's just a short sort of centering prayer. And then you write a letter to God. And it's not a Santa Claus. Listen, God, I want an iPhone for Christmas. I want a new, Rocket Red Ryder. I want a new car. I want this. I want that. No, it's about, remember the Phoenix transformed the energy. Okay. And so as the Phoenix rises, it rises in new color and it rises with new passion. It rises with new zeal. And then we have to translate that, because we are people of language and word, into words and images. And it isn't about having a beautiful letter written to God. It's a cathartic movement as you share what's on your heart. And then you'll put it in your envelope and we will mail it back to you on November the 1st. Now, for those of you who are on Zoom, Myrtle Fillmore always used to say, I've got it written to myself. Myrtle Fillmore always used to say, when you have a problem you can't handle, put it in the hands of God by placing it in your Bible. And then, every time you're tempted to take it back, you put it in God's hands. So that's what I invite you to do if you are on Zoom. So now I kind of laid out a framework. I invite you to kind of come into that centering place, put it all aside, let it all go. Don't need to worry if you've got the instructions right. It'll be fine. Put the pen down, put the paper down. Just really, really get comfortable in the chair. Take a moment to breathe. Let the body relax and your eyes to gently close. And let the attention float on the inhale of the breath into the very center of your being, to the holy and sacred place where we meet God alone in silence. Living Spirit of God, the breath of life we breathe. Here we sit, open, willing to cooperate with your healing grace. We ask for the courage to step forward into the new year, free of the baggage of the past. As we rest in the quiet, we release our focus on anything other than your guidance, your direction, your still small voice. Reveal to each one of us what we're holding on to, what sorrow, what pain, what anger, what betrayal, what failure, what justification of rightness. Breathe a little deeper. Reveal to us, O living mystery. Search us in the innermost depths of our being. You know us even in the places where we don't know ourselves. And what path holds on to us? The expectation of others, the pain we've caused them, the disappointment, the betrayal. And what successes, past glory, keeps us from entering this new year, always looking back, never looking forward. Reveal what needs to be revealed and heal what needs to be healed. Reveal what needs to be revealed and heal what needs to be healed. And the Spirit within asks each of us, do you really want to be healed? And turn it over to God. And so I invite you now to open your eyes and quietly write upon your release slip that which has been revealed and must be released in order for you to experience a rebirth, a true healing at depth, arise like the phoenix. Take this moment now to take the burden from your shoulders and put it on your tiny piece of paper. I invite you to fold your paper in half and place it near you so that you can release it into the fire following our service. This is the time when you want to have your envelope, address it to yourself, and a blank sheet of paper so that you can write your letter to God. Now, remember what I said. This is not about creating a brilliant paragraph of perfect English. You might want to use bullet points. You might want to just use a word or two, as long as it's significant to you and has a kind of understanding about what you're about to do. So before you write, because we'll take a few minutes now to really just be with this process, I want you to set the letter on your lap, the empty piece of paper, so that we can become centered in that flow. So you're writing from the flow. You're not writing from your head, you're writing from your heart. So we need to be in that heart space. I am open and receptive. I am open and receptive to your living spirit of life. O holy birther, mother of all, today a tiny seed of new life has been planted in our hearts. We trust in its process. We are open to its unfolding energy within our being. We are willing to listen to your still small voice. And so I invite you now to take the next couple of minutes to write your letter to God. As we finish up our letters, I invite you to put them in your envelope to seal them. Those on Zoom, put them in the Bible. Those in person, just leave them on the seat and we will collect them. As I invite you now to quietly and in silence hold on your heart what you're about to release as you move out to the courtyard. And for those of us on Zoom, to recognize that this blessing extends to us as well, for there is no time or space in God. May you all have a very blessed new year.